Take a break from petting your cats because today we're diving into the dark truth behind Aphmau's newest furry friend. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Minecraft Theory, where today we're going to uncover the sinister secret hiding behind those adorable whiskers in Aphmau's Minecraft world. You know, that cute little vampire cat that showed up after the rip spawn egg incident? Well, get ready to never look at it the same way again. Now, Aphmau's channel is known for its fun roleplay and silly adventures. But beneath the surface of this seemingly innocent vampire cat transformation, there's something much more troubling going on. And I'm not just talking about Aaron being afraid of butterflies of the night, though we'll get back to that particular phobia in a minute. Let's start at the beginning. In the video, we see a group gathering around a mysterious rip spawn egg. Now, you might think this is just another silly Minecraft mod moment, but pay close attention to what happens next. The egg disappears, and suddenly chaos erupts. A creeper appears, everyone scatters, and in the middle of all this confusion, our mysterious cat shows up. Coincidence? Well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw a perfectly timed creeper explosion lead to the exact series of events needed to introduce a new character? This is Minecraft we're talking about, a game where creeper explosions are about as predictable as my upload schedule. But here, everything plays out just a bit too perfectly. Let's break down what we're seeing in this clip. First, we have the group dynamic before the cat appears. Everyone's acting normally, well, as normal as you can be when you're afraid of butterflies of the night. But watch what happens the moment our feline friend enters the scene. The first red flag appears when Aaron, our resident warrior, suddenly decides to drink the cat. Yes, you heard that right, drink the cat. Now, I've been playing Minecraft for years, and I can tell you that drink the cat isn't exactly standard protocol for dealing with mysterious creatures. But Aaron doesn't hesitate. It's almost as if something or someone was influencing his decision. But here's where things get really interesting. After the transformation, Aaron's behavior shifts dramatically. He goes from being concerned about the creeper to being completely fixated on the cat. All right, cat, I hate to say it, but you're pretty cool. You can stick around. This is a complete 180-degree turn in attitude happening in mere seconds. Now, you might be thinking, but MatPat, it's just a fun roleplay video. You're reading too much into this. Well, let me introduce you to a little concept called behavioral manipulation. In psychology, sudden personality shifts like this are often indicators of external influence. And in this case, all these changes seem to center around one particular furry friend. Let's look at the evidence. Before the cat appears, we see clear personality traits from each character. Aaron shows clear decision-making and leadership. Zane maintains his usual skepticism. Everyone follows normal Minecraft survival instinct, but after the cat's arrival, everything changes. Aaron drinks an unknown substance without question. Characters accept clearly dangerous situations. Normal survival instincts seem to disappear entirely. And remember how I mentioned we'd get back to Aaron's fear of butterflies of the night? Well, here's something fascinating. Vampire bats and butterflies share a surprising connection in folklore. In many ancient cultures, butterflies were seen as souls of the dead, while vampires were known for their ability to control minds. This parallel isn't just a coincidence, it's a clever bit of foreshadowing hiding in plain sight. But the real kicker comes when we look at the cat's arrival timing. Notice how it appears exactly when everyone is most vulnerable, right after a creeper explosion. When defenses are down and chaos is at its peak. This is classic infiltration strategy, similar to what we see in nature with parasitic organisms that wait for the perfect moment to infect their host. The transformation sequence itself holds even more clues. The fire effects, the costume change, these aren't just cool visual effects, they're markers of a much deeper change occurring. But to understand just how deep this rabbit hole goes, we need to look at some very specific patterns in character behavior that emerge after this moment. But wait, it gets even weirder. Remember how I mentioned the cat's perfect timing? Well, let's talk about what happens next, because this is where things start getting really suspicious. Have you ever noticed how in horror movies, the creepy stuff always starts with mysterious sounds? Well, that's exactly what happens here. We get this weird wolf howling coming from nowhere. But here's the thing, in Minecraft, wolf sounds don't just randomly happen. They need a trigger. And guess who's right there when these spooky sounds start? Our feline friend? Now, you might be thinking, MatPat, cats and wolves are natural enemies. Of course the cat would be involved. But hold on to your protection IV diamond armor because this gets even more interesting. Watch how the cat leads Aaron around during this whole wolf incident. It's like a twisted game of follow the leader. The cat keeps disappearing and reappearing, leading Aaron in specific directions. Cat! Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. This happens over and over, but why? Well, in psychology, there's something called intermittent reinforcement. It's when you get rewards at random times, making you more likely to keep following along. It's the same trick that makes slot machines so addictive. But here's where it gets really wild. Pierce shows up and suddenly we've got vampire drama. Notice how the cat is conveniently absent when Pierce complains about his missing sheep. You probably convinced all my sheep to run away, Pierce says. At first this sounds like a ridiculous accusation. I mean, since when can cats convince sheep to do anything? But wait a minute, remember earlier when Aaron randomly decided to drink the cat? What if Pierce isn't just being paranoid? What if he's actually onto something? I think about it, we've already seen the cat can influence Aaron's behavior, so who's to say it can't do the same with sheep? And then there's the wolves. Oh boy, the wolves. They show up exactly when tension is highest between Aaron and Pierce. But these aren't just any wolves, they're super wolves. Now, in regular Minecraft, wolves are pretty basic mobs. They attack, they defend, they beg for bones, but these wolves are different. They're causing so much chaos that even our vampire hunters have to work together. Speaking of working together, let's talk about that for a second. Did you notice how quickly Pierce and Aaron go from trying to kill each other to fighting side by side? That's not normal behavior, folks. These are supposed to be mortal enemies, vampire and vampire hunter, but one wolf attack later, and suddenly they're best buds. But the real kicker comes when Aaron says, I need you for a moment, I need to power up real quick. Power up? Since when do vampires need to power up? Unless, what if it's not Aaron making these decisions at all? What if someone or something is pulling the strings? Let's look at the pattern here. First, the cat appears and Aaron drinks it. Then, mysterious wolf sounds start. The cat leads Aaron around, sheep disappear, wolves attack, and through it all, everyone's behavior keeps getting weirder and weirder. It's like everyone's slowly losing their ability to think for themselves. And then we get to the zombie incident. I think I turned all the animals by accident. Aaron says, but did he really? Or was this part of someone else's plan? Because right after this happens, look who shows up again, our mysterious cat friend. In fact, every time something chaotic happens, the cat is either directly involved or conveniently nearby. It's like it's orchestrating a perfect symphony of chaos, and through it all, notice how everyone keeps getting more and more fixated on the cat's presence. Cat, why are you following me still? Aaron asks, but he doesn't seem too bothered by it. It's like he can't help but accept whatever the cat does. But here's where things get really interesting. Remember how I said to keep an eye on those behavioral changes? Well, buckle up, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. So our mysterious cat suddenly finds itself in what looks like a prison cell. Just a normal cat in a normal cell, right? Wrong. Because this is where we start seeing the true extent of our feline friend's influence. And trust me, it goes way deeper than just making Aaron drink random potions. First, let's talk about Kim and Pierce's plan. They want to use the cat as bait to catch Aaron. Sounds simple enough, right? But think about this. How did they know the cat would be perfect bait? How did they know Aaron would come running? Unless they've noticed something about Aaron's behavior that we've been tracking all along? But here's the really crazy part. Notice how easily Kim goes along with this plan. That's such a good idea, she says. Now, if you've watched Aphmau's videos before, you know Kim isn't usually this quick to jump on board with Pierce's schemes. But suddenly she's acting like Pierce is some kind of evil genius. Something's definitely fishy here, and I'm not talking about leftover cat food. Speaking of strange behavior, let's talk about what happens when our cat friend tries to escape. The cat somehow manages to dig its way out, but here's the thing, in Minecraft cats can't dig. That's not a cat ability. Yet somehow this particular cat knows exactly what to do and where to go. It's almost like it's done this before. But wait, it gets better. When Kim spots something suspicious, Pierce dismisses it with a joke about being blind with your one eye. Now, this might seem like just a throwaway line, but in vampire lore, there's actually something fascinating about vision and vampire powers. In many traditions, vampires were said to have the ability to cloud people's vision or make themselves invisible to certain people. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what seems to be happening here. And then we get to what I like to call the size shifting incident. Suddenly, everyone involved starts changing size. Why am I so small? I'm a puppy. But notice something interesting. Who's the only one that seems totally unfazed by all this chaos? That's right, our cat. In fact, the cat seems to be the only one maintaining its original form throughout this whole size-changing fiasco. This brings us to something really important in vampire mythology that most people don't know about. While we usually think of vampires as just blood-sucking creatures that turn into bats, traditional vampire lore actually gave them the power to control size and shape at will. But here's the thing. This power wasn't just about changing their own form. It was about controlling the forms of others around them. Then there's the garlic scene. Watch carefully what happens when they discover the garlic. The cat doesn't just avoid it, it specifically makes sure Aaron stays away from it too. No, oh no, thank you, Aaron says, but think about it, how does he even know to avoid the garlic? He's only been a vampire for like, what, 10 minutes? Unless someone or something is telling him what to do? And here's where things get really wild. Throughout this whole sequence, every time someone tries to catch or trap the cat, something convenient happens to stop them. A distraction appears, someone changes size, chaos breaks out. It's like the cat has a built-in chaos generator. But is it really just good luck? Or is something else pulling the strings here? But the biggest red flag of all comes at the end of this sequence. When Pierce finally thinks he's got the upper hand, saying they'll never see me coming, who shows up? our cat friend, of course, and not just shows up, but shows up exactly when needed to alert Aaron. The timing is just too perfect to be coincidence. But now we're getting to the really juicy part. Remember how I said to watch for those personality changes? Well, what happens next is probably the biggest red flag we've seen yet, and it all starts with a trap. Let's look at Pierce's attempt to catch Aaron with TNT. At first glance, this seems like typical Minecraft shenanigans, just a vampire hunter trying to blow up a vampire, right? But watch what happens next, because this is where things get weird. Pierce suddenly starts acting completely different from his usual vampire hunting self. Maybe it could be used for something else, he says. Now, if you know anything about vampire hunters in fiction, you know they never suggest using their weapons for something else. That would be like Batman deciding his batarangs would make better letter openers. It just doesn't happen. But the strange behavior doesn't stop there. Pierce goes from trying to kill Aaron to literally begging to join his team. I can be valuable, he says. Now, this is the same Pierce who, just minutes ago, was ready to blow Aaron to bits with TNT. That's what we call a complete 180 in character motivation, folks. And here's where it gets really interesting. Notice who's present during this entire exchange. Our feline friend, the cat that supposedly needs to be lured up to the top of the structure. But watch carefully, the cat doesn't need any luring at all. It's already exactly where it needs to be. Now, let's talk about something from vampire lore that most people don't know about. In traditional vampire stories, vampires had the ability to influence minds gradually over time. They didn't just bite someone and instantly control them, they slowly wore down their victims' resistance through repeated interactions. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what we're seeing with Pierce. But here's the real kicker. Watch Aaron's reaction to Pierce joining the team. At first, he's completely against it. There's no way I'm letting you join my team. But then, almost like something is whispering in his ear, he completely changes his mind. Oh my God, fine, whatever. He says, this isn't just Aaron being nice, this is Aaron acting completely against his own interests. Remember earlier when I talked about behavioral manipulation? Well, in psychology, there's something called rapid personality shift. It's when someone's entire personality seems to change in an instant. This is exactly what we're seeing with both Pierce and Aaron. But why? What could possibly make a vampire hunter and a vampire suddenly decide to team up? The answer might lie in something even more subtle. Did you catch what Pierce says about the cat? It's on my side now, he claims. But think about it, how can the cat be on his side when it's supposedly Aaron's cat? Unless, what if the cat isn't actually on anyone's side at all? And then there's the moment Pierce tries to explain his trap. He starts rambling about blood and trapdoors, but notice how none of it really makes sense. It's like he's trying to justify his actions, but can't quite remember why he made them in the first place. This is classic behavior for someone under external influence. They can perform actions, but they can't properly explain their motivations. But perhaps the most telling moment comes at the very end. Pierce suddenly starts talking about fighting those stinky werewolves. Now, where did that come from? We haven't heard anything about werewolves being a problem until now. It's almost like someone or something is trying to create a new enemy to keep everyone distracted. And this is where everything starts coming together. Remember how I said to keep an eye on the cat's influence? Well, what happens next is the smoking gun that blows this whole mystery wide open. Let's start with Pierce's sudden obsession with making just one more trap. Now, this might seem like normal Pierce behavior. After all, he loves making traps, right? But notice what he says, I got to figure this out, make a name for myself. Why would someone who just joined the vampire team still be trying to prove himself with traps? Unless he's not actually in control of his own motivations. But here's where it gets really wild. The cat suddenly gains wings. Yes, you heard that right, wings. In Minecraft lore, cats don't just spontaneously sprout wings. That's not a thing that happens. But what does have wings in vampire mythology? The vampire lords, the most powerful vampires who could transform into any creature they wanted. Speaking of transformations, let's talk about what happens during the big fight scene. Everyone starts changing in different ways. Some get wings, some change size, some gain new abilities. But watch carefully who's at the center of all these transformations. That's right, our feline friend. The cat isn't just participating in the chaos, it's orchestrating it. And then there's Zane's bizarre admission, I can't control my body. Huge red flag. In all of gaming history, when has a character ever said, I can't control my body, and it turned out to be something good? Never. This is classic mind control dialogue, folks, but here's the really creepy part. Notice how nobody seems concerned when Zane says this. It's like they're all too focused on the cat to even process what's happening to their friend. Let's dive into some gaming history for a second. In games like Mind Control Delete and Superhot, loss of body control is always portrayed through subtle hints, characters making movements they didn't intend, following commands they don't remember agreeing to. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what we're seeing here. But perhaps the most telling evidence comes from the wolves. Pierce throws flowers as a distraction, which makes absolutely no sense for his character. This is the trained vampire hunter we're talking about. Since when do vampire hunters use flower power? It's like something or someone is making him act completely against his nature. And speaking of the wolves, let's talk about how they appear. This is not how wolf spawn works. Someone yells, and they're right. In Minecraft, wolves have very specific spawning conditions. But these wolves, they're appearing completely outside normal game mechanics. It's almost like something is bending the rules of the game itself. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Remember how Zane mentioned he recently joined the vampires? But watch his behavior. He's not acting like a new vampire at all. He's acting like someone who's been a vampire for ages. Unless, what if he's not really a vampire at all? What if he's just another puppet in our mysterious cat's grand performance? The chaos that unfolds isn't just random mayhem, it's orchestrated chaos. Every time someone tries to take control of the situation, something new happens to throw everything into disarray. First wings, then wolves, then body control issues. It's like watching a puppet master pulling strings and everyone's dancing to the same tune without even realizing it. But perhaps the most chilling evidence comes from a small detail most people miss. Throughout all this chaos, the cat remains surprisingly calm. No panic, no confusion, just quiet observation as everything falls apart around it. Almost like it planned for all of this to happen. And now we've reached the moment of truth, the final piece of evidence that proves everything we've been building up to. Because what happens in these last few minutes isn't just weird, it's the ultimate proof of our mysterious cat's true nature. Let's look at Pierce's behavior one last time. Here's someone who started as a vampire hunter, became a wolf, and now suddenly wants to build a statue to honor the cat. A statue, but not just any statue, one that he claims will be here for 1,000 years. Now, why would someone say something like that about a simple cat statue, unless they're under some kind of influence making them think this cat is way more important than it actually is? But here's where things get really interesting. The statue Pierce builds doesn't even look like a cat. It looks like what Aaron calls a weird creeper thing. Now, in Minecraft lore, creepers are these mysterious entities that nobody quite understands. They just show up, cause chaos, and disappear? Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what our cat has been doing this whole time. And let's talk about that gravel choice. In all of Minecraft, gravel is literally the worst building material you could pick. It falls down, it's ugly, and no one in their right mind would use it for a statue. But Pierce insists on using it. More than that, he claims he worked all night on it. This is classic behavior of someone under mind control doing something totally illogical while insisting it makes perfect sense. Now, here's where my film theory brain starts exploding with connections. In traditional vampire mythology, there's something called glamour. It's the vampire's ability to make things appear different than they really are. What if that's what's happening here? What if Pierce isn't just building a bad statue? What if he's being made to see something completely different from what everyone else sees? But the most damning evidence comes from Kim's arrival at the end. She shows up completely unaware of everything that's happened, and her response to Aaron being a vampire is to call it cute. That's not a normal reaction to finding out your friend has become an undead creature of the night. Unless, what if she's already under the same influence as everyone else? Remember how the cat first appeared after that rip spawn egg incident? Well, what if that wasn't just a random event? What if that was the moment something crossed over into their world, something that needed a cute, harmless form to hide its true nature? Something that could slowly take control of everyone while they were too busy awing at how adorable it was? Think about everything we've seen. The cat appears out of nowhere, people start acting strange. Pierce switches sides. Aaron accepts his enemy. Everyone becomes obsessed with pleasing the cat. And then, right when someone tries to create a lasting monument to it, everything falls apart, literally. But here's the really creepy part. Notice what happens right at the end. Kim starts talking about how all kitties are good in this weirdly ominous way. And then Aaron tells her to get in the water. Why? Because in vampire lore, running water is one of the few things that can break a vampire's control over someone. When we put all the pieces together, the truth becomes clear. The cute little vampire cat wasn't just some random transformed creature. It was something far more sinister. An entity that used the chaos of the rip spawn egg to enter their world, took the form of something adorable to avoid suspicion, and then slowly began taking control of everyone's minds. Think about it. Every major decision, every personality change, every weird event, they all centered around the cat. It wasn't just participating in the chaos, it was creating the chaos. Using its vampire powers as cover for its true abilities, it manipulated everyone into doing exactly what it wanted, all while making them think they were in control. But hey, don't let your theorizing stop here. There's another video that YouTube thinks you'll love popping up on your screen right now. And between you and me, clicking it not only helps the channel grow, but it might just reveal even more secrets hiding in your favorite games. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click it. Your next theory awaits. And I'll see you next time.